In 2014, in search of a lifestyle that was closer to nature, we left our busy life in the southeast of England and moved to a remote part of Scotland. Here, our lives could be more in harmony with the flow of the seasons. This is our story.
Hello. Tomorrow's the 1st of August, and traditionally the 1st of August is, in the Christian calendar, known as Lammas, but in the Celtic calendar it's known as Lughnasadh, the festival of Lugh, the god of light. As Druids, we celebrate that particular date as the first harvest. Traditionally, the harvest began at or around the 1st of August and went through to the autumn equinox, which is 6 weeks away, or roughly that. I think it's about the 22nd or 21st of September. And then after that, it would settle down, all the agricultural work would start to slow down, and they would be preparing for the winter. Lunasa was particularly important because at that particular time, people knew what their future was. They had an idea. If they'd had a good harvest, then the winter would be relatively comfortable in terms of food. But if they'd had a poor harvest, then in the agrarian society in which they lived, things could be tough, and they would have to try to supplement that with foraged or hunted food, or they would starve. So it's not like that in our society today. In Western society, certainly. Prices may go up in short times, but we can nearly always find food to eat, and we don't have those same fears of starvation, although that's not true of some parts of the world. So Imbolc on the 1st or 2nd of February is the beginning of the agricultural year. It's when, again going back to agrarian times, people would prepare for the coming growing season. And then it would proceed through Beltane, the 1st of May, the summer solstice when they have maximum light. And the culmination of the year would be Lammas, would be Lunasa, this particular time of year. In former times, this festival was very much a time of celebration. It was about games, it was weddings, and there were sometimes funerary rites tied up with it as well. But it was a time of rejoicing and giving thanks for the bounty that has been accrued from the time of Imbolc through the intervening months to this particular time, that is now the beginning of the harvest. At its simplest form, I celebrate this time of the year with drink and happiness. This is whiskey from the barley that was distilled or was grown in Scotland and is distilled down the road from where I live. And I wish you good health, Slughnasadh. And before I help myself, I offer some to the earth. I just flick a few bits on the earth. I flick a few bits to the sky, some drops to the waters around us, and a small libation to the old ones, the ancestors that live around me all the while, because the landscape I live in is a very old landscape, very untouched. So Slughnasadh. I also celebrate and show my gratitude with these small oat cakes. And similarly, I leave some for the birds and the mice and the ancestors. Just a little offering thrown on the ground. And I give thanks and gratitude for each mouthful. And I think of times gone by when people would have laboured in the fields to produce these oats, and then in the kitchen to bake the bannocks and bake the cakes, acknowledging the efforts that went into satisfying my hunger and pleasing my palate. That sense of gratitude. So far I've talked about the external world, the world around us. But there's another aspect to Lunasa, and that is our inner world, the inner world that we inhabit perpetually. We're there. We live inside our heads. We know our own thoughts. We live and see the world through our own eyes. And what I like to do is to actually reflect on my life. And at this time of the year, what am I actually harvesting in my life at this moment? What are you harvesting in your life now? What am I most grateful for as this season begins? Where is the gratitude in my heart, and for what am I that grateful for? And how can I honour that? How can I honour the work and efforts that have brought me to this place today? Have I learned, and what have I learned from this cycle of growth in the last 6 months, from Imbolc to Lunasa? What have I planted at Imbolc? What seeds, what thoughts, what ideas? How have they manifested in my life now? What is my harvest? And in the same way as the farmer will prepare his fields for the next season, what can I do? What can I do to prepare for my next period of growth, for my next cycle? So whilst I talk of these as being what can I do, it's something for you to reflect on yourself. What can you do? How do you relate to these ideas? This idea of what are you most grateful for? What have you harvested? What are you doing to prepare for the next cycle of life? Because our life is constantly moving in cycles. So it takes a little while. So find a quiet place maybe, and just sit and reflect on the reality of life for you now. And I hope that the reflection is a positive reflection. And if it's not a positive reflection, what you can be sure of is there will be change. I come from a Buddhist background, and I was part of a Theravada tradition for 25 years, and I still have a close relationship with the Theravada Buddhist tradition. And there's something that I remember being told that came down from the Buddha, and that is, with our mind we create the world. So in other words, what we plant in our minds is what we actually see grow in our minds. So it's worth reflecting on that. And I wish you every happiness with it. Be positive. See yourself as part of this wonderful web of life. See yourself as part of the love that is manifested around you and within you. Be kind to yourself. So the things that are associated with Lunasa is this sense of gratitude, a sense of completion, or almost completion. Nothing is going to grow much more. You're going to cut it down and store it away. There's been this transformation from the seed, to the ripening heads of corn on the wheat, the barley growing in the fields, the livestock being born and fattened for the coming winter. And with that sense of gratitude comes an element of contentment, of a job well done. As a Druid, I have a particular form of celebration that I undertake at this time of year. But I realise that those of you that are watching this The vast majority aren't going to be Druids. So how do you celebrate this time of year? How aware are you of this time of year? And why celebrate? Why be aware? Simple fact that it links you into the cycle of the year, the cycle of the seasons of the earth, but also the cycle of the seasons of yourself. It brings a nature connectedness into your life that I believe is beneficial. And the vast majority of people, when they go out in nature, feel relaxed. They're more comfortable with themselves. And I know that I was talking to a man yesterday who lives in Florida, and he has alligators out in nature, and obviously it might be quite difficult to relax around alligators, but nonetheless there's that sense of wholeness maybe that comes from being outside. That's certainly what I find. One way to celebrate Lunasa, if you're not a Druid and don't have the form that I have, and the rituals that I have, is to bake bread. It's a wonderful thing to bake. It's a wonderful thing to make. It brings you in contact with literally the fruits of the earth. Make wine, make beer, bake a cake. And then take those gifts from the earth and gifts from you, and share them with your friends. Have a party, get together in the garden, down in the park. Celebrate the bounty of the earth, because that's what you have in your hands, the bounty of the earth. As the wheel turns to Lunasa, may we find a moment to pause and give thanks for the bountiful earth and the community around us, whether through feasting, crafting, or quiet reflection. Let the spirit of this ancient festival remind us to appreciate and honour the cyclical nature of life.